story maps is that you have maps and you have story maps. In order to have a story map, you must have a map already made. Story maps is an application that interacts with your map. So for the story map and the tips and tricks I'm going to show you, I'm going to be using the same Civil War map that you all made this previous week. So we made a map on the American Civil War, and I added a few map notes to it. And then I also, in my content, created a story map app, and the directions show you where to go to create this. And then I also created folders over here to keep up with all of my things. So I created a folder with Civil War images, and then I created this web mapping application. So you'll notice that if I go back to my content up here, I'm going to be referring to this map that was made with my initials in front of it, the American Civil War map. That's the web map that you created, and this week you learned how to make that. Once you make the map, you can then use that map in your story map app. And if I'm confusing you, I apologize. So I made this web mapping application using the map journal. And I went ahead and built a lot of the features that the tutorials that we have online walk you through. My home slide was just a brief story map to show the years of 1861 to 1865. For my landing page, I chose to pick up an image from the Library of Congress site. I then went down to my next stage, or my next section, was to show what were the border states. And one thing I want to show you that I found useful is I can make story maps to serve as a web quest for my students. So the students can interact with the map, and you can say, I want you to activate the legend, and so I can ask the students to turn this on, and they have to answer these questions on a Word document or a question sheet to tell me which types of states fought in the Civil War. And then to find out which ones allowed or not allowed slavery, you can click on the data in the map, and when you click on it, notice it gives you information on each of the states. And so there's one option there in the data that tells you slavery, yes. And if you click on the blue state, it says slavery, no. So you can build this as a story map, or you can build it as a web quest. And then I set a different stage to show where were the capitals, and I've got a few questions for them to ask. What was the Union capital? What was the Confederate capital? And then write 3 sentences to describe the relative location to try to bring in some spatial thinking. What I want to show you, though, is how you can edit these things. So if you click on to the next stage of the map, you can choose to edit, and when you edit, you can make the map work with your text. So I'm going to choose to edit the third stage here. And so you're going to notice I've typed in some text, and then I put here, click here to see a map of the battles. So what's nice is if you highlight the text and you click on Main Stage Actions, you can make the text interactive. When I click on that, it says, hey, well, you want to show all the Civil War battles. I can choose to customize the location of my map. I can zoom in. And I can choose to save the location. I can also customize what content is going to be revealed. So I can choose the same layers you were clicking on in your regular map. I can choose to say, hey, when they click on the word here, let's turn on the battles. Then I can choose Apply. And I can save it. And now, when I click on this text, it takes me down to that area of the map, and it shows me all of the battles. I'm going to go ahead and choose Edit. And now I want to show a few primary sources that I've gone out to the Library of Congress and collected the web addresses for. And I added them as map notes on my regular map. I'm going to highlight the South secedes, choose mainstage actions, click on change the mainstage content, and this time I'm going to change my content, and what you'll see is I've added each map node as a separate map node and named it something I'll recognize. Now I'm going to show the map node for secession. Why that one came up there, it should have come up differently. It looks like I didn't name it properly. I actually think I moved them around, so we're going to turn on Fort Sumter, and just bear with me. I think that's going to work. If not, I'll show you. Let's try that again. Sorry about that. Let's see. I test drove it this today, and I thought it would work. Let's see. So we're going to go back to content. I'm going to turn on Fort. Yeah, I changed the name, but so I turned on this map node, Fort Sumter. I'm going to choose Apply. I'm going to choose Save. And now when I click on the South Secedes, it brings me down to this layer. And if I click on that map node, it'll bring up a primary source of the secession movement. And if I click on it, it takes me out to the Library of Congress where the students can interact with a primary source. I can go back to my story map. I can choose the Edit tab. I can go down here, and I can choose Fort Sumter. And now I can go back to my main stage actions, choose to change my content. And this time I'm going to turn off Fort Sumter. I'm going to turn on secession. And I'm going to choose Save the Map Content and choose Apply. And save it. And this time when I click on Fort Sumter, it brings me down to an info button here. When I click on it, it shows the first shots of the Civil War. And then what I did here was I created an image, but then I linked out to a Library of Congress primary source, a newspaper article from April 17th, 1861, and you could have the students reading a newspaper if you want, so you could have some questions to accompany it. What I also want to show you is that, man, I made some mistakes on my original map. I've got secession linked to Fort Sumter, and I have Fort Sumter tied to the secession movement. What's nice is I can edit the map and then update the story map, and since they're separate. So I'm going to go back to this the Civil War map. Give me a moment to find it, and thanks for bearing with me. Let me go back to my content, and I'm going to open up that map because I don't like what's going on there. And I'm first going to make sure I save my work. I'm going to go back and I'm going to update that because I don't like the names of those. And so we're going to see that this was mislabeled. And I labeled it the secession movement. Actually, that should be where it is. We'll check that. So that is titled the secession movement. Let's check this one and see if I changed it. I'll save that as well. Okay. So then, this is going to be the fun that you get to go through keeping your knees bent. Let me go ahead and save that. I'm going to go back to my map. I'm going to reload it. I click down to here, and I choose to show all the battles. I click here, and notice the text is interactive and the map's interactive. I click here on the South Secedes. It brings up that map note, so I'm going to have to see what's going on there. It should be reading a different title there. Then I'm going to choose Fort Sumter, and it shows that map note. So what I wanted to show you was how you can make your map notes and make your map content not only interact with the section that you're in on your story map, but also you can make your text work. So that's what I was hoping to show there, with how the map interacts with the story map app, and just make sure that you save your work here. The last thing I want to show you are just a couple of examples of what students and teachers have created. So this map here is one that was created by a student of mine who was looking at